It's not looking good for Keir Starmer, as it seems there is a reported revolt inside the Labour Party. In today's video, we will discuss this, whilst also going over all of the latest news from up and down the country. But first, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel and join our fast-growing community. Keir Starmer is cooked. And if you don't believe me, take it from Robert Peston, a Labour-leaning political journalist who recently spilled the beans on ITV. According to Peston, there's now a full-blown plot within the upper echelons of the Labour Party to oust Starmer. That's right, their own leader. Why? Because even they know he's a walking disaster and a surefire ticket to electoral humiliation. It's no secret Starmer has burned any goodwill he might have had, both within his party and with the public. Let's not mince words here. The man is one of the most despised political figures in the UK. He's a liar, a fraud, and completely unfit for the office he's so desperate to cling to. Starmer's rise to power was built on false promises and deceit, and now, predictably, the cracks are showing. Take his treatment of the WASPI women as a prime example. These women, who have suffered immense financial hardship due to pension inequality, were given hollow promises by Starmer. He even had Labour MPs pose for photo ops with them, smiling and pledging to fight for their compensation. And where are we now? Starmer's government has abandoned them, claiming the taxpayer can't afford to honour the commitments he made. Yet somehow there's always enough money for his ridiculous vanity projects and pandering to his woke agenda. This isn't an isolated incident, it's a pattern of behaviour that defines Starmer's leadership. He lies, manipulates, and uses people for his own gain. And when it's no longer convenient, he throws them under the bus. It's no wonder even his own party has had enough. For this level of dissent to emerge so soon after Labour's so-called landslide victory speaks volumes. His position is untenable and everyone knows it. Let's not forget that Starmer's leadership isn't just a problem for Labour, it's a problem for the country. He has no vision, no principles, and no clue how to lead. His robotic, focus group-driven approach to politics has alienated voters across the spectrum. He's so obsessed with chasing short-term headlines and pandering to niche causes that he's lost sight of what really matters, the people. What's truly laughable is the idea that Labour could replace Starmer and somehow salvage their chances at the next election. The damage is already done. If a general election were held tomorrow, Labour wouldn't just lose, they'd come in third place, behind the Conservatives and Reform UK. Starmer has made Labour unelectable for a generation. It will take at least a decade, if not longer, for the party to rebuild its credibility with the British public. And let's talk about accountability. How is it that a party can lie its way into power, fail to deliver on its promises, and still expect to carry on business as usual? There needs to be a mechanism to hold these parties to account. If a party gets into office on the back of broken promises and deceit, they should be removed, full stop. The runner-up in the election should be given the chance to govern. It's radical, I know, but can you think of a better way to ensure politicians actually follow through on their commitments? The writing is on the wall for Starmer. Even his closest allies are reportedly turning against him. The Labour Party is imploding from within, and it's only a matter of time before he's forced out. But let's not kid ourselves. Whoever replaces him will inherit the same sinking ship. Labour's brand is tarnished, and the British public has seen through their empty promises. So here we are. Starmer's leadership is in its death throes. The man who lied, schemed, and bulldozed his way to the top is now facing the consequences of his own actions. And honestly, it couldn't happen to a more deserving individual. What are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments. In other news, a new grocery tax aimed at achieving net zero targets is set to cost British households up to £1.4 billion annually, The Telegraph reports. The green tax will add as much as £56 to annual household shopping bills according to government calculations. The scheme, which charges retailers and manufacturers based on their packaging materials usage, has been quietly passed into legislation as part of the UK's waste reduction and net zero strategy. Critics warn the measure will increase food costs for families while creating additional bureaucracy for businesses. Under the Extended Producer Responsibility (EPR) scheme, which comes into legal force on January 1st, 2025, businesses will face charges for packaging waste collection and disposal. The system, originally devised by Michael Gove during his tenure as Environment Secretary, was previously put on hold following opposition from Conservative MPs and retailers. The first charges will be implemented in autumn 2025, shifting the cost burden from local authorities to manufacturers manufacturers and retailers. Despite the change in funding responsibility from council tax to businesses, there are no indications that councils will reduce resident taxes. According to government forecasts, the scheme will increase household bills by £28 annually in a low scenario. In the government's central scenario, costs will rise by £48 per year, while a high scenario could see increases of up to £56 annually. The British Retail Consortium believes Labour's £1.4 billion cost estimate is too low, suggesting the true cost to retailers will be closer to £2 billion. The government expects 85% of costs will be passed on to consumers in a central scenario, rising to 100% in a high scenario. Lord McKinley, chair of the Net Zero Scrutiny Committee, criticised the rapidly introduced, yet little noticed grocery tax legislation. It heaps more than £1 billion of new and unnecessary costs on consumers, but as ever when government departments estimate implementation costs, these are often hopelessly underplayed, the Tory peer said. He added, "It needs to be called out for what it is. Yet another net zero tax which adds to consumer cost inflation and further adds to the administrative burden on UK businesses. Another growth-destroying measure by an inept government." The government has published a schedule of base fees showing varying charges for different packaging materials in 2025/26. Plastic packaging will face the highest charge at £485 per tonne, followed by fibre-based composite at £455 per tonne. Paper or board packaging will incur the lowest fees at £215 per tonne. Alternative materials such as bamboo or hemp will be charged at £280 per tonne. The government's impact assessment acknowledges the policy will contribute to inflation, raising it by 0.07%. Lord Frost condemned the policy, stating, "Rishi Sunak's government came up with this plan and then rightly realised it was too expensive to introduce. Keir Starmer's government doesn't care about that. They are obsessed with green politics and are quite happy to impose these new burdens on business which will boost inflation and push up food costs for every family," he said. He added, "Starmer claims to care about growth, but his actions show the opposite." Jim Bly from the Food and Drink Federation acknowledged the potential for a world-class recycling system under the new regulations, but cautioned the government over how money generated from this tax rate is used. He shared, "We know that transforming our recycling system will come at a significant cost. We need to ensure this money actually delivers for the UK and has as small an impact on prices for consumers as possible." The British Retail Consortium's Andrew Opie said the scheme could play a vital role in reducing unnecessary packaging. He added that the £2 billion annual cost must deliver a step change in recycling to justify increased costs for customers and businesses. A DEFRA spokesman defended the reform, stating, "This government will end our throwaway society and stop the avalanche of rubbish that is filling up our streets by increasing recycling rates, reducing waste, and cracking down on waste crime." According to the department, the packaging reforms will create 21,000 jobs and stimulate more than £10 billion investment in the recycling sector over the next decade. We continue to work closely with businesses, including the glass industry, on these reforms. We set out illustrative fees which are lower for almost all categories than originally proposed, the spokesman added. What are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comment section below. If you've not yet already, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more British content.